on Channel 1, right? Testing.
Whenever you're ready.
Good to go?
Yep. We're good to go.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Ypsilanti Community Utilities Authority. It is definitely more quiet out here than usual, thanks to our plant staff that have actually shut off all the plant flow just so that you can see this facility in this light and minimize the flow and sound. I would like to thank Administrator Regan, Congresswoman Dingell, and Director Roos for their attendance and visit to our facility today and their support for water and wastewater infrastructure improvements. High quality water and wastewater infrastructure is necessary for good public health, environmental health, and economic stability. I would also like to thank Supervisor Stumbo, Mayor Brown, and our YCA Board of Commissioners for their continued support and investment into this authority. YCA was formed in 1974, shortly after the promulgation of the Clean Water Act, and in kind of the backdrop of significant investments by the federal government in water and wastewater infrastructure. The city of Ypsilanti and the township of Ypsilanti had the vision for a regional solution to water quality to provide top cost-effective water and wastewater services to our community. Federal funding back in the 70s is what allowed us to construct this state-of-the-art facility that we're visiting here today and fund these projects and lead to improved water quality in this region. I find it remarkable that we also now stand here today shortly after 50 years anniversary of the Clean Water Act and also upcoming 50-year anniversary for this authority, and at a time when we're reinvesting into this infrastructure for much needed improvements. These improvements are made possible through the American Rescue Plan underneath President Biden's Investing in America agenda. The authority needs these type of investments to maintain this infrastructure and continue to protect the public and environmental health of our communities. The focus of today's visit was to review our Headworks Odor Control project. That is a system that draws foul air off the treatment process and is really a community type of service, so it minimizes the impact to our community and neighboring residents. The second piece of this project is the ultraviolet disinfection facility, the facility that we are here at today and just walked through. That facility is vital in disinfecting the plant effluent prior to discharge to the Lower Rouge River. The introduction of this water back into the Lower Rouge River, which was not the original discharge location for this facility, has led to improved aquatic habitat in this environment and higher water quality in this region. Therefore, I would like to introduce the Mayor of Ypsilanti, Ms. Nicole Brown.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you all so much for being here. First, I would like to start off. My name is Nicole Brown, and I am the Mayor of Ypsilanti. I am so honored to serve in this capacity, and I would like to thank Administrator Regan, of course, our Congresswoman Dingell, and Director Roos for being here, as well as all of our YCUA staff, Luke, our Board of Commissioners for all of the hard work. Yucca truly is a municipal partnership in Ypsilanti and Ypsilanti Township that we are proud of and have been proud of for many, many years. And investments in our public infrastructure is so important, not only critical for our city and our township, but for our residents in order for us to have access to clean and safe, drinkable, usable water, as well as investments in keeping rates low for folks who do not have the ability to pay with all these increases across the board of what we see in housing and some of our basic needs within our communities. And so we're so happy to be here on this tour to really be, basically fortifying our partnership here and also demonstrating the great work that's happening with this authority and what we want to see happening in the future. And I'll hand it over to our Township Supervisor, Brenda Stumbo.
Wasn't Nicole great? This is a great example of Ypsi City and Ypsi Township working together to make it better for our community. This plant, though, services a larger area because we are a regional water or sewer department, and I would put it up against any of them. We have great leadership with Luke. We have a board that's dedicated, but our employees, to me, are like the first responders. They're not looked at like police and fire, but when there is a water emergency, you have a water break, you have a sewer overflow, or it's backing up in your, that's health and safety. And I would have to say, without them in our community, protecting our people every day, it's a 24-hour operation. They do a great job. So I appreciate all the outstanding people who are here, and it's very nice to meet them, but we really want to honor the people who do the work day in and day out, and thank you for that. And we're going to introduce the director of Eagle is here, Mr. Roots.
Thanks so much, Mayor and Supervisor Stumbo, and also Luke Blackburn. Thank you so much for being our host here, and of course, our amazing Congresswoman Debbie Dingell. And then I just want to give big thanks out to Administrator Regan and also to Deborah Shore, who is the Regional Administrator from Region 5, and who I get the privilege of working with a lot, and it's just been such a great relationship. Thank you for coming here to celebrate this important investment, which is really going to make a difference in this community. I really appreciate the opportunity for us to showcase really the collective effort, federal government, state government, local government, and all of the people who are actually here working in this facility. And I want to just say something more to all of you who are right here actually doing the work. First, thank you. And then I hope you realize how important the work that you do is. Even if it's opaque to many of our residents, we appreciate it, those of us who work in this arena. Our infrastructure, and water infrastructure is part of this, it enables us to live our lives the way that we want to live them. So we, because of all the water professionals who work here, we get to just turn the tap on in the morning and flush the toilet, and we don't really give it much of a thought. And maybe that's good. I don't know, maybe we should give it more thought, but I think that's a real testament to the work that you do. And I think what we can remind ourselves is that regardless of who you are, where you live, who's in your family, what you do for work, everybody in this state and across this country have the right to clean drinking water, and also to the protection of our sources of that drinking water, whether it's the Great Lakes or the other source waters around there, and to the infrastructure that's going to make sure that it stays that way. In Michigan, we like to hold up our hands here to define ourselves, that are literally defined by the water around us. And that's a blessing, but it's also a huge responsibility to steward those resources that keep us healthy and happy, and we can recreate in and everything else. It's a world-class resource, and we're honored to have it, but we have to protect it. And for years, I think we, even in our state, took those resources for granted. And we didn't keep up with funding the infrastructure that's needed to keep it in good condition and have all those things that we count on, clean water. Many of our water systems are 50 years old or more, and we have some that are approaching 100 years in age and haven't always kept up with the maintenance and the upgrades that are required. There's a lot of work to do still, but as I like to say, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step, and I'm really thankful that over the past several years under the Biden administration and the Whitmer administration and your fine local leaders, we have made a lot of progress against that journey. Because of President Biden's leadership and the leadership in Congress and the EPA and all the federal resources that came from the American Rescue Plan Act and the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, plus the leadership of Governor Whitmer and our state legislature, I think we've really started to move the needle in rebuilding our water infrastructure over the last several years. Since 2019, there's been collectively $4 billion in investment in Michigan in the infrastructure, water infrastructure. That's supported 57,000 jobs, That's everything from replacing lead service lines to rebuilding sewers to replacing aging septic systems and a lot more. And then I'm happy to say that Governor Whitmer recently signed another bipartisan budget that committed an additional $600 million to this effort. And in addition to the funding, we're trying to do a better job of telling the story about where the money comes from, where it goes, and the impact it has on the community by unifying all of our communications around the My Clean Water brand. It's important to let people know because people don't think about this stuff very much, and we got to hold on to these precious resources that keep us safe. I've only been on this job about 3 months, but I feel so fortunate to take a lot of credit for all this stuff that's happened. No, just kidding. But it's just an honor to be able to join, to take on this role at a time when there has been such an influx, an unprecedented influx in federal and state investment in water infrastructure. I think there is a long ways to go. We can all acknowledge that. But sometimes it's good to just celebrate a little bit and to say, yeah, we work together at all levels of government and those of you here in the plant, in the water system to make this happen. And we should feel really good about that and an example for other places in Michigan and around the country. There's a lot more work to be done, but thanks to everybody at all levels of government and in this facility. And it's my pleasure to introduce the next speaker, my favorite congresswoman and my congresswoman, an environmental champion in our delegation who never has taken water resources for granted. Believe me, she is always letting me know this is happening and that's happening. We have to take care of it. That's right. The hardest working person in Congress, and some might say, including me, the most effective in our Congress. Thank you for being here, Congressman Dingell, and for everything you do.
Thank you, Phil, and it's really great to be here with you. And I want to thank Brenda and Nicole, who are incredible administrators who I work with almost every day. It is. I don't know which issue I'm dealing with them on any given day. And the administrators who told me he was coming to Michigan in my district, that's how I said, you are? But I'm very glad when he told me that he was, and I'm very glad to be here at Yucca and to thank the staff here who, I'm going to talk about sewage in a minute. But I also want to say Deborah Shore, who is the Regional 5 regional director, who is always at the end of the phone when I call. I finally said to her one day, is there any other congressional district that has as many problems as we do? And they're both there. I mean, when we had the Flat Rock chemical spill, you just dispatched immediately the bus to take care of that. Downrivers, the plume, you name it. And by the way, the minute he got nominated, not even approved, I was already talking to him about PFAS stuff. But these are people that listen, and I want to thank EPA for what they do, and I want to thank the employees that are here. But I think that are here. But what I really, and all of the local officials that are here today, but I think what it's really important to talk about today is in Michigan, we know better than any other state how critical access to clean water in our neighborhoods is, and the devastating impact it can have when families are unable to unable to get access to clean water. Flint taught us that. And I've also learned more than I ever wanted to know about sewage and sewers in this job, and particularly when I got redistricted and got all of Washtenaw County, and when I moved in the last year, some of you know, most of you know, we used to get flooded in Dearborn all the time, but we are now getting flooded everywhere. And Evan Pratt, who's the drain commissioner from Washtenaw County, called me in August and said we've had a once in 400-year storm. So we've moved up since, like we had 1 in 100-year storms, about 10 of them in 2 years. We moved to that, but when you get 7 inches of rain or 7.4 inches of rain, depending upon which community it was, we don't have an infrastructure that was built to support it. We are having floods, we are having sewage overflows, and we are committed to working at every level of government to address all of these issues. At the federal, the EPA and the administrator and the regional director have been such incredible partners in so many ways. But what people don't talk about, and I do want to focus on, is the bipartisan infrastructure bill, the ARPA bill, the bill that I think's got the worst name in America, the IRA, but it is, I know I'm not supposed to say that, but it hides the money that's coming into communities to help make what has to happen here get better. And it is a partnership at the federal, state, and local level. But too many people forget that if this money hadn't come from Washington, these dollars would not be available for these improvements. And I am thankful that the administrator came today. I'm glad that he can see Yucca, because I've been spending a lot of time getting to know you, because here's a reality. We cannot get $30 million for every community to be able to upgrade their sewer system. We've got to work together. We've got to work together as regions, and we've got to work together at the state and federal level. But that takes leadership. And I am going to say, I'm trying not to be political, and I'm not, but Joe Biden has had the leadership to understand what we've needed to invest. Infrastructure isn't just roads and bridges, which we did need to fix the damn roads. I'll admit that. I didn't know we were going to do it all at the same time, but we needed to. But infrastructure is fixing our sewers and making them and upgrading them so that they can handle this kind of rain, so we can handle things on a regional. Infrastructure is making sure that we don't have another child drink water that's lead contaminated again, and getting the lead out of every pipe. And infrastructure is also dealing with things like PFAS. And I talked about PFAS from the day that I walked into office, and Administrator Regan has addressed PFAS and recognized what it's doing to our communities. So I want to just tell you what an honor it is to have him here, but I really do want people to know the importance of leadership and to see how the dollars are actually being spent and making a difference in everybody's lives, and how we have a lot more work ahead, but we can only do it together, working together. So as we celebrate, we need to celebrate today these historic investments, but we got to redouble our efforts to continue to secure federal funding for clean and safe water for our communities, to getting this lead out of pipes, to ensuring, by the way, another thing Rashida and I led was making sure people can afford their water. We should not be turning people's waters off, period. Water is a basic human right. And obviously I care about our water, the rivers, the tributaries, etc. So I thank you, Administrator Regan, for coming to my district to talk about this. I think the people in my district are the greatest. It's the best district in the country, to tell you the truth. But we do know these issues better than anybody. And we thank you for your leadership in helping us address these issues. Administrator Regan.
Well, thank you, Congresswoman, for that introduction. And I don't think I need to say this, but you all have the greatest advocate in Washington, D.C., in Congresswoman Dingell. And I agree with her. Leadership matters. And because of her leadership and her partnership with President Biden, we are doing historic things. I'd also like to thank Mayor Brown. It's a pleasure meeting you and your leadership in this city. Thank you for having us here today. And I'd like to thank all of the local leaders here. You all are doing an excellent job. And the reason we're here is we want to celebrate your leadership. Deborah Shore, thank you for being such a great R5 regional administrator. Deb has faced a number of challenges in the last 3 years, and she stepped up and knocked all of them out of the park. You know, I'd like to thank the folks from Ypsilanti Community Authorities. You know, you all are doing such an outstanding job, and it's really great to be here to highlight what you're doing with these precious resources. Since day one of this administration, President Biden has promised that he would not leave any communities behind, and that every community would have access to clean, safe, affordable drinking water. In my travels as administrator, I visited big cities, rural communities, and everything in between. And time again, I've heard countless stories about how aging water infrastructure is impacting the health and well-being of so many communities across the country. As the Congresswoman said, clean water is essential for all life here on Earth. It's necessary for healthy people, thriving communities, and productive agriculture. From waterway pollution caused by failing wastewater treatment facilities to negative public health implications that come from contaminated stormwater and wastewater. When our water systems fail, it threatens the security and the peace of mind of entire communities and has consequences for every aspect of our society. But the Biden administration understands these challenges, and EPA has prioritized delivering clean water for every single community, especially communities that have been underserved and overburdened for far too long. Effective wastewater management begins with reliable infrastructure, which is why I'm excited to be here today to highlight the work that this community is doing. Folks, investing in our water infrastructure is investing in America. Today I had the opportunity to see firsthand how our EPA dollars are helping to upgrade and renovate this wastewater treatment plant, critical utility that plays a key role in keeping this community safe, healthy, and prosperous. With over $20 million invested over the past 3 years, this plant has been able to make crucial infrastructure improvements to their wastewater management system by replacing old and outdated UV disinfection equipment, aeration blowers, tanks, and other wastewater processing equipment. Thanks to President Biden's Investing in America agenda, and thanks to Congresswoman Dingell's leadership, we're making similar upgrades and improvements to wastewater infrastructure across the entire state of Michigan. That means over $500 million will flow to communities statewide. And we're replicating similar projects in communities all across the United States. So far in 2023, EPA has provided over $15 billion for wastewater infrastructure improvements nationally. Folks, President Biden is committed to improving our nation's water infrastructure and ensuring that every single person in every single community in this country has healthy, safe, and affordable water to drink. The work that we saw today is a perfect example of how EPA is helping to deliver on President Biden's commitment. This administration is working to build a future where water infrastructure is resilient in the face of climate change, a future where all of our children, regardless of the color of their skin or community that they live in, can play in local rivers and streams without fear, hazard, and harm, a future where wastewater is collected, treated, and repurposed safely and efficiently, ensuring that our precious natural resources are conserved for generations to come, and together we can and we will build a healthier, brighter future for all. And at EPA, we simply won't rest until we get the job done. So thank you all for your leadership, and thank you all for being here today.